What's up, everybody? Welcome back to On the Block, April 30th, 2023. Joe and Poyan here to wrap up the first round and get into the second round. And we were just talking about how we wanted to speak on Giannis and their embarrassing defeat to the Miami Heat. And I guess that post-game interview where a lot of people were pretty much siding with Giannis. And I want to talk to you about it because I thought it was very like participation award kind of stuff where it's like, oh, hey, you did a good job. And it's like, oh, but like, is this a failure? My whole thing with it, and I'm gonna get your take in a second, but I just want to kind of lay it out. Kobe, when he was still in the league and obviously around, I remember he dubbed Giannis as his next guy. This guy spends the most time in the gym. He puts the work ethic, blah, blah, blah. He's a champion. He has that killer instinct. And we all agree that he's been that guy. But in this loss to Miami, granted, he had a back injury. He was hurt. We know that. He wasn't 100%. In no case should a 1 lose to an 8. This is a roster that's a championship roster that might even be a better roster than the one that won 2 years ago. They have a lot of depth. They have a lot of guys. Giannis is better. Middleton, a little hobbled. We can get to that. I kind of understand because the media can ask some shitty questions at times, but it's also their job. Like, you just lost. You're a 1 seed. You lost to it. You got embarrassed. And I'm asking you, like, is this season a failure? It hurts to say yes, but yes is the correct answer. Now, you can make it poetic. You can do whatever you need to do to kind of dance around the truth. At the end of the day, it's a failure. You're a 1 that lost to an 8. There's arguably their second best player, for sure their second best scorer, and Tyler Hero was out. You had games at home that you got annihilated in, right? Like, you got blown out, and they lost. So that's pretty much my opinion. I want to get your opinion. So you're Giannis, and he's kind of milking it, saying Michael Jordan lost so many times. Is that a failure? It's not about Michael Jordan, my guy. This is about you losing. You're in the prime of your career. You got embarrassed by an 8 seed. Floor is yours. Take it away.
Well, Joe, for me, my perspective is yes. In hindsight, this is a failure season for the Bucks. Like, for them to lose to an 8 seed, everybody was shocked. Nobody, I know we all sat here, number 1 pick.
Everybody
picked the Bucks, right? As a leader, which Giannis is, and we could argue, I think he's probably one of the best leaders in the NBA right now. No question, his work ethic, the way he grows. For him, it's more of like, if you laminate his team and all that they've done to this point as a failure, I mean, at the same time, the Warriors season, they had the best record in the NBA that season. They
3-1 loss.
They lost, right? I don't necessarily think that was a failure season because they broke records, they got better, they united, they understood that, hey, they still needed a better piece, they still needed some other pieces. They got KD, they won the following season. So in a sense, I understand where he's coming from. In a sense.
Yes.
But it goes back to, I understand where you're coming from. I understand where Shaquille O'Neal made the comment that, hey, like, if I don't win, I consider that a failure to myself.
100%.
Right? And that makes sense. But at the same time, I understand what Giannis is saying, because everything that you lose or don't do good in, or if you fail in, is supposed to make you
motivate you to be better.
Exactly. Yeah. So now if you use that and next season you come in, you remember all of that and you come in and kill it, well, then we're going to be talking about this in a whole different narrative.
100%.
That's where I come down to. We don't know what substance this is going to give them till next season and the future and what they hold. His answer was to keep his team intact. They got notable free agents this year.
Brooke Lopez is probably going to be gone, right? That's another thing that we can talk about.
Their coach, Brooke Lopez, arguably could have been Defensive Player of the Year. They got a lot of key pieces in Joe Ingles coming off. Jay Crowder, a guy that they got, he's questioning his role.
His role. We talked about that.
You see what I'm saying? And I know me and you talked, and we said that, hey, the number 1 piece in acquisition at the trade deadline was
a guy like Jay Crowder.
There you go. And they didn't even utilize it. And didn't even
cement
it. It didn't work out. All of that. So we'll know next year whether or not the Giannis thing is going to pan out. Knowing his work ethic, knowing how he is, he's already signed up to FIBA. He's going to be going and representing Greece.
And after they won the title, they all did that too. Him and Middleton went, and I respect that. The only thing I'm saying is, we're into the coaching in a second, but I guess different players and different people, whether it's the workforce or whatever, you're held to different standards, right?
Yes.
Let's even just say, like, we all have brothers. Me and you, like, our brothers, we have different strengths and weaknesses. So our parents, let's say, might look and be like, Joe has a better role here, his brother might have a better, and the same thing there. Like, you're not going to hold Grayson Allen at the same caliber that you would Giannis.
Absolutely.
Right? And at the same time, even like a team like the Raptors, you look at the Raptors, and Masai says every year, our goal is to win a championship. Now, I had this talk with a few of my guys. If you ask Masai this year, was this season a failure? He'd probably say yes, because he's a competitor. He would say, my goal is to win a title. They didn't win a title. They got bounced in the first round. It was embarrassing. Yeah. If you ask LeBron James, if you don't win a title, is this season a failure? 100% he will tell you yes.
Absolutely.
So that's the only thing that I kind of struggle with, where it was almost like it was like a self-pitying thing. And it's tough because, like, I can't stress enough, they got embarrassed. It wasn't a loss. They got fucking embarrassed. You're at your home floor. Jimmy Butler's waving to the crowd as he's leaving, playing the antagonist. He did an amazing job.
He did a great
and
job.
Shut up, because a lot of people are saying too, oh, we're not giving Miami Heat their flowers. No, this isn't about Miami. They did a great job, and we're going to give them the respect. But they don't win this series unless Milwaukee lays an egg at the same time.
But that's where it comes down to as well, which I have mentioned as well to some of my guys. Like, calling the Bucks a failure kind of takes away from Miami's success.
But that's fine. They're a number one overall seed.
Which is totally understandable. But at the same time, man, me and you both know seeding means nothing when it comes to playoff basketball. It's only home court advantage.
Yeah.
In playoff basketball, look at the Kings and the Warriors, which is tonight as well.
Yeah.
Who's the better overall team? You hands down, a lot of people would say the Warriors because of the experience and all of that. But they're the 6th seed and one is the 3rd seed, which why aren't we holding them at the same accountability, right?
Well, I think if you ask Steph Curry when the season, if they lose tonight, they're going to say that the season was a failure.
Probably.
Right? So that's what I'm getting at. It's just, I think Giannis was, and rightfully so, pissed off. You can see when they ask him the question, he's already going like this, all kind of stressed out. It's like, my guy, we love you. You've been an MVP, Defensive Player of the Year. Take this L, say this season was a failure. We're going to be better, and we're going to move on.
But he didn't have to say it like that. But he didn't have to say it like that, Joe. His answer was, this is another step to me growing and becoming a better player. I don't think this is a failure because now he's felt this significant amount of defeat.
He felt this in the loss against the Raptors too a few years ago, right?
No, but not to this extent.
But
that
the
was
thing
the
is,
second
like,
round.
they are on this is even worse as the first round. So
that's why.
We'll wrap it up in a second. But my whole thing is, like, if you're a younger player growing up, let's say, I don't even know who's a young guy now that's going to be a star, John Morant, for example, right? Like, Ja, we would say guys that great will win a championship at one point. Now, Ja's climbing the mountain, right? Giannis has been to the mountain. So anything less than a championship, and his same as Kobe, Shaq, Tim Duncan, all those greats, all-time greats, they're in a different class.
Yeah.
They're not Jimmy Butler. And
no.
God love Jimmy Butler because I love him. But he's not in that all-time tier.
No, he's not.
He's going to be a top 100 player maybe when he's done, but he's not a top 10 guy. And these guys are different standards. So I just want to kind of wrap it at that. I respect, like I said, I don't want this to be a bashing on Giannis because it's not. I love the guy. I just didn't love the way he went at that question, but I get it because he was embarrassed.
I mean, it is.
And then lastly, I was going to say, the coaches that have won the last few titles, we look at it. Vogel doesn't have a job. Nick Nurse doesn't have a job. Budenholzer is going to get canned. That's another thing I was kind of looking at. It comes down to a new
voice still, right? A lot of these teams, when they've had all this success, it comes down to when they start losing and losing at a significant level or a pressurized
first round exit.
Or a first round exit.
Might be gone.
I mean, you never know. You just don't know with what will happen, though, right? Because at the end of the day, you got to realize the grass isn't always greener.
And a lot of these coaches will realize that.
A lot of the coaches do, and a lot of teams
that was
as
different.
well,
He's going to go to Houston
right?
now and deal with a young team. We'll see what he does.
Yeah.
That wraps up Giannis. Let's stick with Jimmy Butler. Big win. Today they're going to New York at Madison Square Garden, a daytime game. How do you see this series unfolding? Who do you have winning? I think this is a pretty evenly matched.
I think it's going to be coming down to all brute, all physicality, all coming down to the nitty gritty. These two teams are meant, like their personas are that essentially. Anyways, Miami, New York. Like when you think of these two things, you don't think finesse.
I was gonna say they're not finesse. They're battle teams.
Exactly, they're battle-tested teams, right? And a lot of people, me especially, I had Cleveland winning, right? So
we all did too.
And with the Knicks surprising Brunson and Randall, I think Brunson has been the best player.
He's been incredible.
He has been incredible, man. As a point guard, as a leader, as just taking the ball and dominating. Oh yeah,
a lot of tough shots.
And so for me, it's hard to go against Jimmy Butler, playoff Jimmy. But for me, if Randall is healthy, and it all comes down to having that full team, because Miami, they don't have Tyler Hero. They already have used like their lineup to the full extent against the Bucks.
Bench guys, yeah.
And you know the second round is on and off games. Every other day there's a
It's
game.
a test of your depth.
And it really is, right? So as much as I want to say Miami, my gut is going with New York.
Okay.
Because you know, shout out New York, they're there and they're showing that they're here to be played. I just can't go against Brunson, and as much as I love Jimmy Butler, I feel like with Jimmy, like he can only go so far, and he's gone very far. But if nobody else is showing up with him, it's gonna be very hard. Well, they barely beat the Bucks without Giannis, right?
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. So now I'm having a tough time differentiating between like, is this team gonna go on some kind of like possibly get to the finals run, or are they gonna be able to gas for the second round?
Yeah, I mean, but this is normal for Miami, though, right?
Yeah.
I think this is not something that we should like take in, like, hey, this is a one-off. This has been Miami for the past forever.
And they beat the Bucks. I was forgetting about it, but they beat them 4-1 the year before the Bucks won the final. I think.
Yeah.
They had the bubble year.
Yes, and then remember the bubble year. Jimmy Butler himself played 46 minutes. He played the whole game except for one minute.
The finals game
where
he was like resting. Like
yes, and he was there. So this team has done that. So for me, I don't have a problem with Miami. I just have to go with my gut, and I look at New York as, hey, like they want to finally show out. They show up, and Brunson is just killing it, man. And
they have more horses. I was gonna say,
yes.
Right? Like they have more depth there. I was just trying to draw the lineups here. So like Gabe Vincent, Kyle Lowry. I want to see how he does. Raptors fans waiting on him to do something. I still think he's too out of shape to really do too much, but I want to see how he does. Duncan Robinson was dusted off in this series.
Yeah.
And then Bam and Love, right? Like I want to see those guys kind of do something this series too, because their front line's going to get tested against, like Mitchell Robinson's been a beast.
Yeah.
I feel like his whole thing always is just like stay out of foul trouble and stay healthy, and now he has. I'm going to go Heat. I think I'm going to go Heat just because and it doesn't make much sense because like we said, like New York has the home court, they have the deeper team. But I think Jimmy is maybe on a mission. You know what I mean? I don't think they're going to win the title, but it wouldn't shock me if they get to the finals after what's happening here. Right?
If they make it to the conference finals and they face the likes of Philly
or the Lakers again, maybe like the bubble championship.
Well, the conference before they get to the actual finals, like if they face Philly, because
going against his old team,
you know, going against his gold team. I'm not going against Miami.
Well, at that point, you take Miami.
Oh, at that point, you take Miami to go to the finals, right? But now it's let's see them take on the Knicks. Like I said, if Randall is healthy, which I believe he's not in there for the first game, it's gonna kind of cement what's gonna happen for.
And you can't drop game. That's the Bucks realize that too, right? They're like, oh, Giannis will be back. Don't worry, we'll win when we get the court. You don't have all the time in the world. You need to win every game.
Absolutely.
So you take Knicks. I'm gonna take Miami. I guess just because it's maybe a little bit. I'll go Miami in 6.
I go Knicks in 7.
I respect that. All right, Philly Boston. We got Joel Embiid doubtful for the first game. I think that his knee is messed up. He took a lot of falls. I'm worried about his health. Every year in the playoffs, he kind of disappears because of, I think he just too much of a usage for a big guy and kind of falls off. Boston's also looked very beatable. We watched them in the Atlanta series. They didn't look incredible. They're a better team than they've been because they added guys like Brogdon, who won the Sixth Man of the Year.
Yeah,
I just want to double check.
Yes,
He did win Sixth Man of the Year.
Yes.
Defensively, Rob Williams is the only guy, as usual. If he's healthy, they're a much better team. Derek White's been incredible. He's been really good, and he's been stealing Marcus Smart's minutes. Right? He's been arguably their best player, probably their best defender.
Most consistent, of course. Yeah.
They have so many guys. I think they're probably the deepest team that's left standing at this point. Maybe Denver has a conversation there, but they're probably that team. That being said, do you have Philly or Boston in this one?
Joel Embiid healthy. I have Philly. I have Philly in 7. I think it's going to go down.
So we know for sure he's not playing game 1. I'm kind of leaning that he might not even play game 2.
I mean, it's surprising too because they beat the Brooklyn Nets in such a easy fashion that he had all of this time to rest and he's still doubtful.
Yeah.
Which it's just
it means something's up.
Yeah, something's up, right? But at the same time, Boston has been so shaky and unreliable. Like, don't get me wrong, we all had them beating Atlanta, we just didn't think that Atlanta would
We
go
win a
to
few
Boston
games,
and win
and
two.
Trey would go off without
exactly.
um,
Without DeJounte.
without DeJounte.
Yes.
So
So
I had them written off. I think they're like 9-point dogs.
Right.
They win the game.
And they did. And that was in itself. But I mean, it all comes down to how well Harden plays, how well Maxey plays, how well Tobias steps up. So these guys are all going to have to do, like, they've been playing very well. Miami, but this is going to be their first real test, I feel Philly's going to have. Obviously, not to knock on Brooklyn, but they're just a young team, undermanned team. They just got together. That's the first time a lot of those guys got into the playoffs and that experience, right? So for me, I go Philly if Joel's healthy, just because I don't see anybody stopping him. And then in the season, how many times I feel like Joel just dominated Celtics this whole season as well.
He always does.
52 points the last time they played, right? So, I mean, for me, I think if Joel's healthy, you can't go against him. And I think he's going to be the MVP this year, the way it's looking.
Yeah, I think he's going to win the MVP. Another thing we did mention, I just kind of remember now, James Harden's going to be free agent at the end of the year, right? Yeah. So I know that, as guys always do, it's a contract year. They're putting up numbers. He's lost a step, obviously. He's getting a little bit older, not the same guy, but he was putting in the effort on defense that we haven't seen too often. He's looked pretty good shooting the ball and all that, but we know he's not the same guy. I was going to say, if there's a year for them to win it, it's probably this year, only because Joel's in top form. Milwaukee goes out in the first round.
Yeah.
You know, you beat Boston, then you're playing the Knicks or Miami, who they should beat, if that's the case. I don't think Joel's healthy. I think there's maybe, like, I don't know if there's ligament damage or what it is, but I think that if this is the regular season, he's probably missing a month.
Yeah.
Just to rest.
Yes.
Because of that, I'm going to go Boston, because I don't think Joel Embiid's going to play game 1 or game 2, even though they probably lose those 2 games anyways.
Yep.
So I'm going to go Boston in 7 again, because I think they are going to put up a fight. I like Maxey a lot. We saw last year against the Raptors, he torched us. I'm going to go Boston in 7. But as a fan of the Sixers, not me, but if you are a fan of the Sixers, this is probably the best team you're going to have for a long time. Because if James walks, if James goes back to Houston, let's say, to go with Udoka and all those young guys, I know Maxey steps in, but that's another all-star you're going to drop from your roster. Joel gets a year older. The East is going to get better, blah, blah, blah. This is their chance. I just don't see it happening. I Boston in 7.
So make it or break it.
Quickly, who do you have then, I guess, as your updated top team in the East with these 4 teams that are left since the Bucks are out? Like, who's your favorite, betting on favorite? Who do you think comes out of the East at this point?
Well, Philly.
Philly?
If they're healthy,
Yeah.
I think it'll be a Philly season.
And then they beat the Knicks for you.
They
Philly
beat the
takes
Knicks,
them.
yes.
Okay. Let's go on to the West. So we do have a game 7 going on tonight. Sacramento, Golden State. Some people are shocked. I'm not really. To be honest, I thought I think the Fox injury kind of threw a wrench in everything too, because his fingers messed up and broken and whatever. Now Sabonis has not looked great, and I think that's probably been a big reason why the series hasn't been done yet, because he hasn't been his usual self. But going into Game 7 tonight, Sacramento's at home, and that home court is going to be big. Because in Golden State, I think it's a different story. Golden State struggled on the road. You're sticking with Golden State?
I'm still sticking with Golden State, man. They stole one already in the
They
game.
both stole one on the road so far, one each.
It's just, I think it comes down to, like, been there, done that.
You think Curry's going to just kill it today?
I just think that the Warriors have been there, done that. It's hard to go against the team. Don't get me wrong, Sacramento. I think this has been the most fun series of the playoffs. Like, it's been arguably the most fun I've watched basketball in a very long time. Right? So this series has been epic. I think shout out to De'Aaron Fox. Shout out to him, broken finger. And he's still going off and playing so well. He's carried this Sacramento team again.
Malik Monk's had a few big games.
Oh yeah, like I think Sabonis has been like a very reliable guy, been a solid guy that they can go on as their big. Because I don't really see them having anybody else. Alex Len, when he's come in, he's put some really good minutes in. Like it's really surprising, because he was supposed to be a step out the door. You know. So for him to do what he's doing and giving Sabonis that rest that he needs, he's doing very well. But it just goes down to the experience. I don't think that Clay, Draymond, Curry, Wiggins, all those guys could be stopped in a game, make or break its game. Don't get me wrong, it's going to be in Sacramento. They have that advantage, but
Not tonight, bro.
It's going to be a Golden State win for me.
Yeah, just looking like they have some guys too. Obviously, the guys have had some decent series. Like Murray as a rookie's been okay. Harrison Barnes has hit some tough shots for them this series.
Yep.
Herder, and the other guy I was trying to find, Davion's done a good job too. But who? Rashawn Holmes. I've been waiting for him to see some minutes because they signed him to an extension about a year or so ago, and I feel like they don't play him at all anymore. And that's a high energy guy, a big guy they could probably use some minutes for. Hasn't gotten the minutes. I'm going to go Sacramento. I'm going to stick with it. I think I had them winning in 7 when we did our last show. So I'm going to stick with them. And then the other series that we have there that's already started is the Denver Phoenix. Maybe we'll get to that in a second. Let's talk about the Lakers, actually. Dylan Brooks.
Wow.
The Dylan Brooks, he poked the bear. He did all that BS. I think he thought that he was going to get a different reaction, maybe break the Lakers. Why did Memphis lose this series, in your opinion? They're the better team, or should have been anyways.
Injuries. Not having Steven Adams was the hugest, because if you look at every game, they lost their rebounding. Anthony Davis was huge for the Lakers. But I just want to say one thing, man. What one of our mutual friends has always pointed out and hated on LeBron, I just want to give him a shout out because he pointed out something to me that I don't agree with that LeBron did. The whole series, he was quiet about Dylan, didn't say anything, said that this is bullshit, this and that. As soon as he wins, he opens his mouth. That is so cowardly.
Oh, so you don't like that?
Oh, I do not.
Okay.
You talk when it's there.
In the heat of the moment.
In the heat of the moment.
Yes.
You don't wait to see if you win to talk after.
Because if you lost, he wouldn't say a word.
He wouldn't say a word.
Yes.
See, that to me is something I do not like.
Beta behavior?
And that is what LeBron James did.
Yeah.
As awesome, I think if he was younger, it would be a different series, which I told our visual Lamar.
Yeah, of course.
But I think at this point, like, if you're trying to be that bigger guy, that this is not my level, and that's what you're trying to make it as, why talk now?
Well, remember he barked at him before game 5 or 6. I think it was, what was that far back? The first game back in LA then. And he went at him, and they asked him what he said, didn't say a word, whatever. But it's very weird because Dylan Brooks is looking at him kind of like laughing, and LeBron's there.
Smart.
Yeah, LeBron is there kind of like scold his younger son or younger brother.
Right.
And then once he said we had to say, Dylan Brooks didn't say a word, walks off, starts walking like this, does some tomahawk jammer, then gets back in line. I was trying to see too what happened there, where it's like I wanted to know what happened. I wanted to hear some from, and I'm surprised Dylan didn't say anything either. Maybe because he didn't want.
Well, he hasn't showed up to any of the media stuff, which I think
is very cowardly too
in itself. Exactly. You talk the talk, you didn't back it up. However, LeBron James was held to 22 points per game.
Yeah.
His lowest in years. Yeah. He was a contributing factor, but Dylan Brooks defensively did
a fine job.
He did a great job. It's his offensive that we have a problem with. Yeah. And I think that that's the biggest need for the Memphis Grizzlies is that they need a proper 15 to 20.
Well, Desmond Bain is supposed to be that guy too.
But he's a shooting guard. You need that 6'6", 6'7", 6'8" guy, which honestly, if they're looking and knocking on the Toronto Raptors' door, man, OG, I think would be a perfect fit for him, and that's a conversation I've had. I think that he brings the defense and the offense that they need, which is the 15 to 20 points, which OG can give you. Yeah. And for me, Dylan Brooks was very disappointing for a guy that's supposed to be talking. Shout out to the Canadian boy. As much as we respect you and you represent us, I wish you just showed. That's the problem. At the end of the day, you should own up to it. You could have gave a proper response, give a Giannis response. Hey, you know what? I just tried to, scold him, try to get him in like shattered, try to get under his skin. Some kind of comment. Hey, I tried to do it. It's the GOAT. He's been playing for so long. I tried to get into his head, and it didn't work. We lost. You know what? Next year we're gonna come back. We're gonna be better. It's a learning curve. Something.
Didn't say a word.
But the guy runs away, and that's what bothers me more than anything, man. And but don't get me wrong, the Lakers won. They did a very fine job. They played very well. The games that they did lose, though, you saw that they were very beautiful. Yeah. So for me, the Lakers are a very shaky team, given LeBron's age, given their inconsistency. Because with Anthony Davis, yes, he's been there defensively, but you don't know what you're getting from him offensively.
Yeah, it's a night-to-night kind of. Is the jumper
D'Angelo Russell, same thing.
Same thing. Yeah, it's like every third game he might score 20.
Exactly, right? So For me, the most consistent guy on that roster was Austin
I was
Reeves.
gonna say, yeah.
And he was.
You knew what you were getting every
Yes, he was consistent. Hachimura off the bench was amazing.
games.
Very good, you know. But don't get me wrong. I think if John Morant wasn't injured, I think they could have pushed this to 7 games.
And that's what I was gonna ask. If these, because obviously Memphis was not healthy. They missed their center and their backup center. They were forced to play their third string center, right? And he did a great job.
He did a great job.
But you look at it, Brandon Clark's been like one of those guys that's going to get you, those games he started, because Steven Adams would miss games, he would still get you like 15 and 8, 16 and 10 when he would play. He's a higher energy guy. I think not having those two bodies, Adams for sure would have just, if Adams would have played, I think that AD goes down with an injury just because of the physicality of Steven Adams.
Absolutely.
I think, and he would have, and that was the case. But I think if Memphis was healthy, which they clearly were not, I think they win the series between Ja being hurt, 2 centers being out, all that kind of stuff.
Jaren Jackson getting into foul trouble.
Yeah, that's Jaren Jackson's career.
Yes, but then that's why you have those extra bodies to throw, where you could take off Jaren
Or
Jackson.
you can play Steven Adams with
exactly,
him,
and then this way you're not kind of worried or relying on him, right? Because you're now relying on Jaren Jackson
and there's no
to be
backup
on the
plan.
floor, and that's the problem, right?
And they were exposed in that case. So Lakers are going to play the winner of this Sacramento and Golden State series. Regardless of who wins, is there a team you see that the Lakers can't beat? How do you see it going?
I don't see them beating either.
Okay.
I just don't see it. And I think the Sacramento Kings are too physical for them,
Right.
and I think the Golden State Warriors are too good of a shooting team for them, skill wise. So for me, I don't see them winning that series. I thought if they were actually on the other side and they were to either get Denver or Phoenix, it would have been a better situation for them. However, getting this side of the ball, which is the Sacramento, which is an up-and-coming run-fast team, which is their biggest pet peeve.
LeBron doesn't want to run at this point.
No, of course not. But don't get me wrong, they have a better team than what they were before.
Well, they revamped their team with the deadline,
yes.
right? Like they got all kinds of new guys.
Vanderbilt, such a great player. Defensively, just size-wise, takes so much pressure off of
LeBron doesn't have to guard anybody either, right?
Exactly.
Like LeBron can just kind of stand there.
LeBron James defensively, you know, you're not going to get much from him anymore. He's got to save his energy. So him coming up and doing that, but that's why that high pace is going to be a
wear him down too.
Oh yeah, well, and
with
what
either
is
of
Golden
those two
State?
teams,
And that's the
both
reason
teams are
why.
going to run.
I think this is as far as the Lakers go. That's just my opinion. Maybe people have them as a title contender. I don't.
Okay. And last series that started off last night. So Denver plays Phoenix. I'm not sure if you had a pick before it started, but Denver went in there and wiped the floor with them. Now, granted, it's only one game. They're holding their serve. Phoenix could go back and tie it up at 2-2. How do you see the series going?
So for me, I mean, I've said this before, and you know, you can check the receipts. You know, I have Denver going to the finals.
Okay.
I just think they're that deep of a team.
Yeah.
The problem I have with Phoenix is who do they have outside of their starting lineup? They have nobody that can give them 15, nobody that can give them 20, and they haven't. It's only been Booker and KD. You know, you got splashes where, you know, Torrey Craig's gone off one game, 15 points. But if you're relying on your
guys like that,
how far do you really think you're going? And that's where last night, the game, they really did get exposed because Denver's resting Jokic. He only played 30-something minutes last night, and they went by that. Because you got Michael Porter taking his chances. Jamal taking his chances.
Aaron Gordon had a good game.
Bruce Brown coming off the bench, having his. Jeff Green, one of those OKC guys, right? A lot of people talked about Durant, talked about Westbrook, talked about Harden, but a lot of people don't mention Jeff Green, which I think he's one of those
solid. Been a really good role player.
Yeah, he's a really good 3-and-D type of player, which you can get a reliable guy slash in, plays his role very well. Doesn't need the ball, and he could actually attribute to things, right? So I have Denver winning in 6. I don't think that the Phoenix, obviously you're going to get a game where Booker goes off, Durant goes off, and I think
I want to see if Chris Paul lasts too, right?
I think he will because of the way they're playing their lineups. Yeah. They're not playing him as much, but they're playing him in key moments, which matter, right? I was talking to Lamar last night, and I'm like, you know what? For me, I would, like the end of the games, instead of Chris Paul, I'm playing Landry Shamet just to space the floor.
Really?
It's just, for me, he's younger, he has a better shot, And
Even
you know
Damian
what
Lee is
you're
a pretty
getting.
good shooter that I'd like to see something.
He's worse defensively.
Yes.
And that's the problem I have, right? So now if you have Devin Booker, which is causing a lot of traffic in, you take it out. Landry Shamet has a better shot than Chris Paul at this point of his career. You talk about a year or 2 years ago, it's different. Chris Paul has been amazing, don't get me wrong, but he's just very inconsistent now. Defensively, he's been playing very well. It's just you don't know, like with Devin Booker and Kevin Durant, the attraction, the double teams that you get, you need someone that's going to be spacing it out, knockdown shooter.
One guy that the more I watch, the more I get disappointed with every time is DeAndre Ayton.
Yeah.
There was that sequence I saw yesterday where Jokic had like tapped the ball to himself like 5-6 times, missed all of them, and Ayton standing outside, literally looking like this, and I'm like, this guy doesn't want to be here. And I think that's been really the story of his career. And I remember hearing rumbles from like the draft that he was one of those guys that said, I want to make a lot of money. I think that's been his goal because I haven't seen any growth from him as a player since he came in the league. If you told me his stats were 16 and 8 or 9, which I believe they are, I would say the 4 or 5 years he's been in the league, he's been exactly the same every year.
Yeah.
He looks like a guy that doesn't want to fight for anything. If the lane is there, he'll go in. He goes up like a bitch at the same time. Every time he goes up like a bitch. And Jokic is a guy that's not really that intimidating defensively. He's a monster of a man, so when he's right in front of you, but like Aiden's a guy that like if they got anything from him, a little bit of effort, a little bit of like punching out in the balls, let's like get angry for once, they win the series. I don't think he gives a fuck.
I agree with you. He's not reliable. I think that's the best way
He's
to
just a
describe
big body that like leaves so much
they
more to
have
be
nobody
desired.
else that they can put in.
Nobody.
Yambo's getting exposed for his size.
Yeah.
Landale is just not that good.
Yeah.
Your only option right now with Phoenix is DeAndre Ayton. Don't get me wrong. I think he has a very good mid-range that a lot of
He's that
centers
soft
don't
shooting
have.
big guy, right?
Yes. He's not your brute go in. Like if Jokic
Grab a
is
rebound if
bodying
you need
you,
one.
there's a
There's a
problem.
big problem. There's a big problem if he's bodying you, right?
As good as not
Yeah,
to take away
of
from
course,
Jokic,
yeah.
but if he's out rebounding you in the offensive paint,
Yeah.
there's a problem because you're not boxing
You're
out.
not that's what I was gonna say. You're not
saying.
boxing out. It's not even like you're not grabbing the ball.
Yes.
You're not doing the dirty work to set yourself up to get the
I mean,
rebound.
Kevin Durant is playing more defense than he is.
Easily.
And that's not good because you want him to focus on the offensive end. That's where he's made his bread and butter. And Kevin Durant has taken such great steps defensively, but you want him to focus
Your center is the
on
focus of
offense.
the defense.
Absolutely.
He's your anchor. And if he's not the anchor, then what are you doing?
And that's the
You're going to get
problem.
125 scored on you by Denver,
Yes,
right?
yes.
And if they're giving up that many points, as great as that offense is in Phoenix, I don't think they win the series. It's tough because at the beginning of the season I had Denver, and then when this series kind of presented itself, I get scared because like Kevin Durant, he's a killer, Booker, Chris Paul, but I'm going to stick with Denver even with that game yesterday. I'm going to say Denver in 6. But they win this game, I think that Phoenix is going to win a few games at home. So I'm going to go Denver in 6. Now the only thing it's tough to say because the Clippers, Sacramento, Golden State still have to play, but you're going to take either of those teams to beat the Lakers.
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to assume that Sacramento wins this series, but even if Golden State does, I'm kind of going to piggyback off you. I think that both of them beat the Lakers. There is something like in the back of my mind that says like the Clippers could somehow go on this run to like get to the finals, not win because that would kill me.
Clippers or the
The
Kings?
Lakers, sorry,
Oh,
the Lakers. I feel
Yes.
like the Lakers could get enough things to fall their way. Another injury happens, and they beat Golden State or whatever, or they play Sacramento, and then when it's done, we're like, oh, Sacramento needed another year. We should have saw this coming. That's what scares me.
No, and I hear that. I mean, at the same time, I just don't see that they have the same energy that
Yeah.
a lot of these
Yeah, they
other
don't.
teams
They
don't.
keep up.
They don't, right? And so,
And I'm hoping that's true.
you just never know, right? A lot of people don't count out LeBron James, and a lot of us want LeBron James to get to this point, so we see what he still has left in the tank and what he can do. So far, when he's been playing well, the Lakers are looking very good, like a very well-oiled machine, but when he's played bad, they've looked like they're disastrous, like what everybody says and makes fun of.
No effort. And all
No
that stuff.
effort,
Yeah.
it's like that. So it's like a hit or a miss. And I think Lakers are the biggest hit and miss team in this, remaining
Left of the
teams
team.
in the left of all the teams, right?
All right, so you have New York, Philly, Denver, and either Sacramento or Golden State. You have New York in 7 or 6?
I have New York at 7.
7, I have that. And you had Philly. I'm writing yours down. Sorry. And you had Philly in 6 or 7.
7.
Okay. And then Denver in
6.
Denver in 6, and then Golden State or Sacramento. Tough to say, but like 6 or something.
I think whoever will go to it'll go to a game 7 for that
7.
as well. Yes.
Okay. So I had Denver in 6. I'll go Sacramento in 6. I think they're going to win. Boston in 7. Miami in 6. Lastly, it's a little bit updated now. Who do you have winning the title? I'm not sure if anything's changed for you.
Denver.
Denver still over Philly.
Over
You have to say?
Philly, yes. I think that's when we're actually going to see the whole Jokic conversation. A lot of
That would
people
be
are
a
doubting it.
great finals.
And-
Jokic
and
going
that's
against
what I would
Embiid.
love,
If Embiid
actually.
lasts that
Yeah.
long,
Yeah.
that would be good. Looking at how battered the East is right now, I know that I had Denver getting to the finals. I remember Denver or Clippers, so I'll stick with Denver. And then in the East, Miami still kind of scares me because I feel like if Philly loses to Boston, Boston to me is still probably Boston and Denver have to be the best teams left, I think. But something about Miami scares me. I'll go Denver over Boston in the finals.
Okay. So you got Boston going to the finals.
Yeah,
right?
I think Boston's going to go to the finals. And I think that if Boston actually goes against Miami, that'd be a hell of a series too. I see
think
Jimmy
it
Butler
would
go
be a
against
very
like
good
Tatum or
series,
something like
yeah.
that.
No, but I'd rather see the Philly and Miami series, man. But you want
So would I,
Celtics
because
to
Butler
play.
would go against his old team
Yes.
that chose Ben Simmons over him when he said
Tobias Harris
and
over
Tobias
me.
Harris over him. Jimmy Butler's a fucking animal.
He's amazing.
Okay,
man.
that's
I
gonna
love
wrap it
Jimmy.
up. We'll try and get back next week then, and see what happens there. And thanks for tuning in, guys.
Appreciate it.
All right, I'll talk to you guys later.